Hey everyone, welcome to the Big Man's Banana Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew J. Lepore, and today we have a little bit of a different, we'll call it esque today. It's just going to be me on a topic that has been pretty, let's say, interesting in the last couple of days. So, one of the things that you may have seen throughout your life is you remember one thing as what it is. Say it's blue. You always remember blue is always the color of your front door. But then you come back to your old childhood home and you see it's red. Interesting, right? The only difference is you remember that door always being blue, but in reality it was always red. Things like this are called the Mandela Effect. This is a phenomenon where a large group of people believe something is one thing, but in reality it's a different thing. So this specific event or details is from the past, named for like famous instances where people believe that the Nelson Mandela effect or Mandela had this in prison, right? The Mandela effect has sparked countless debates and theories. So we're going to explore a lot of those today. We're going to go over a whole bunch just to show you that maybe the things that you see on a day-to-day basis aren't what they always were. So one of the biggest things that you're going to see is people always talked about the Bernstein Bears. This is a big debate. Now, one of the best well-known examples is the Bernstein Bears for this Mandela Effect. It's the childhood spelling of this book featuring a family of bears, and you might remember them as the Bernstein Bears with an E in the last syllable. So, surprisingly, the actual spelling is Bernstein, Bears. That this has an A. So most people believe that it had an E. Bernstein. This blew up the internet. This came about, all these people were like, no, it was this. I swear I had the book. I looked at it. I read it all the time. But in reality, it wasn't what it was. They're now sitting here thinking, oh, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe something is happening in the Matrix where they're like, this is completely different. Could that be true? Maybe. Could it also be the fact that a bunch of people believed it was one thing and believed it other? Now, there's also this aspect of there's such this loud outcry of something so small as the Bernstein Bears. Maybe something in the Matrix has flipped. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But you look at something so trivial as these bears, this family of bears, and there's an E and an A. And the A was the difference, but everyone believed it was an E. It makes you think. But that's not the only example. So as this was starting to really protrude in the internet, people are like, oh, well, maybe there's more things we could talk about. Right? And there was. Another big one, I know this was massive for me, was the fruit of the loom. So the fruit of the loom was a mind-bending example because most of these people believe that there was this thing called a cornucopia. For those of you who don't know what a cornucopia is, it's basically this big, it could be metal, it could be wood. Most of it's this woven wood or like basket weaving thing. And it is holding a bunch of fruit, hence Fruit of the Loom. That's like this underwear brand, t-shirt brand, just clothing brand, right? And what's so interesting about this is every single person, including me, has seen this cornucopia holding the fruit. But what's weird about it is there's no cornucopia. People, I don't know about millions, but thousands of videos all over TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, show the cornucopia never existed. How is this a thing? You're telling me all these people, millions of people, believe that there was a cornucopia on this underwear, on these shirts, on these socks, whatever it is, and there was none. Now, there was an example where there's this young man, I'll try to find the video and put it up behind me, I'll put it up somewhere in the video, where he has this lock, this lockbox, this safe, and it's like, well, this is the Mandela Effect safe, and he pulls it out and there's a cornucopia. Now, is it true? Probably, maybe, who knows? Maybe it's just some great editing. I mean, people edit all the time. It's a massive thing to do now. But why does everyone remember this cornucopia, but no one can find it? I remember when I went home, after seeing that video, I looked, and all my underwear, no cornucopia, not one. My friends, people all over TikTok and Instagram were like, there's no cornucopia. There has to be something. I remember this very vividly. So that brings into a theory of, Are we still in the same matrix? Did something happen in 2012 that changed and altered our lives forever? But if you're going to tell me that every single person believes there was a cornucopia holding fruit on their underwear or t-shirts, we'll just say clothing, why is it not there? What is happening? So one of the biggest ones that actually affected me, aside from those two, which were massive, was Star Wars. Every single person loves Star Wars, right? No, maybe not everyone, but a vast majority of people do. And everyone always jokes about this one line. When Darth Vader is having his big battle with Luke, in episode 5, I believe, he's looking over, and Darth Vader turns and goes, "Luke, I am your father." But what's interesting about that is that's not true. So I have it written down here. Another misremembering of the classic movie line, "Luke, I am your father." In reality, it's a line from Star Wars, and it's from The Empire Strikes Back. And countless fans and franchises and even people from the movie, right? They've interviewed people from that movie, obviously all the main characters. They think it's, "Luke, I am your father." But in reality, the line is, "No, I am your father." It's not, "Luke, I am your father." It's, "No, I am your father." Everyone has this big idea where Darth Vader turns and says, "Luke, I am your father." But it's not true. It just makes you think. All these people, millions of people, one of the biggest franchises aside from Harry Potter and all the other ones, that Darth Vader stands there after just mercilessly destroying Luke, says, "Luke, I am your father." And it's not that way. So these examples make you think, what? Could the Mandela Effect actually be real? Are people, millions of people, billions of people, remembering it one way, but it's really happening another? Did something happen to all of us at a certain point of our lives where we switch into a different dimension, a different matrix? However you want to say it, however you want to look at it, could this be a thing? So I urge you guys to go check out the Fruit of the Loom. I urge you guys to go check out the Bernstein Bears. See, I'm still messing it up now. And that scene. Because I went back and I looked and I was like, there's no way. There's no way on earth that it is not, "Luke, I'm your father." One of the biggest lines that's ever, like, there ever was. There's memes about it. There's show references about it, movie references about it. But it's all wrong. It never happened that way. So another one for all you Disney fans out there is, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" So this is from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and the famous was spoken by the evil queen, and is remembered, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" However, the actual line is, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" Like, what? I don't think you guys are understanding what this is doing to my brain. You're telling me after all these years going to Disney, watching these movies, like when Frozen came out, everyone's all in the Disney hubbub, like everything, and you're gonna tell me that doesn't exist? So as sitting there as like a young child, you're watching this and you're like, "Oh, this is a great Disney movie. This is gonna be awesome." And this big line, it's like, "Luke, I'm your father," the cornucopia, the Bernstein Bears. You go, well, it couldn't possibly happen in Disney because I know this so well. Everyone's watched Snow White. Everyone's read Snow White. Everyone's, so the biggest line that everyone remembers from Snow White is, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" But it's not. And when I read this and I heard, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all," I swear on my life, I wanted to cry. Because I remember this as that. How can all these prolific things happen, and it doesn't happen with that the way that we thought? How was that fair? First of all, second of all, Disney figured this out, and third of all, no, we're gonna have to go back and change this because I don't accept this. Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Another one that I thought was pretty cool. I always said it this way, but I didn't realize. I never watched the show. It is pretty popular among young women or even older women. And hey, maybe the men out there like this the show, but it's Sex in the City, right? So Sex in the City versus Sex in the City. Many fans of this popular TV show recall it as Sex in the City. but the correct title is Sex and the City. This wasn't as a big one for me because I wasn't as in tune with it, but when I was doing my research for this podcast specifically, I was like looking it up and I was like, Sex in the City, right? And the first thing that came up was Sex and the City. And I'm looking at like the cover of this show. And I'm like, there's no way this is a thing. And you look and it's like, wow, it really is Sex and the City. Just adding on to this. So as I'm doing this whole thing, I was like, maybe I'll do the Mandela Effect today. Do a little bit of a different, because we have a bunch of really good interviews coming up soon. But why is it everything that we're remembering? And it's not like just one or two examples. It's not like, okay, your front door was blue, and now you come back and it was red. Maybe they're pulling a prank on you. The door was always blue, but now it's red. No, these are more examples, and I have two more here. And the one wasn't as crazy, but the other one is kind of wild. So, following Sex and the City was the Looney Tunes. So I remember always watching Looney Tunes, or you get up on a Saturday, you're sitting with your brothers or just maybe yourself, and you're watching cartoons. Bugs Bunny, all of these characters, and it pops up. And you would see like Looney Tunes spelled Looney, Toons, Looney Tunes, right? That makes sense. You're being loony, obviously. Tunes is spelled Tunes, but they're doing something for kids. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be interactive. They want to capture their attention, so they would use two O's instead of a Tunes. It was always Tunes. So Looney Tunes, Twoons, versus Looney Tunes, Tunes, is the classic cartoon series featuring beloved characters like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, is often as Looney Tunes, but the correct spelling is Looney Tunes, Loones, Tunes. Now, this one blew my mind because I remember specifically all their heads would come through the O's, right? So there's no way just Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, or all these characters would only fit into two O's. It had, in my head, just so you guys can understand where I'm at, in my head, the only way this makes sense is if it never happened. But I have this vivid, like, memory, this intuition where something happened. Because I remember this always as Looney Tunes, Tunes with two O's. First of all, you can't just take that away from us. I feel like a lot of us will look back, see like Space Jams or things like that, and you go and you look at the Looney Tunes characters and you're like, well, this is how it should be spelled. This is how it should be. But no, it never was. And another one is from Forrest Gump. This one was interesting to me because it wasn't as big of a change, but it was interesting how it kind of portrayed itself. So in Forrest Gump, everyone always says the line, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, right? So that is a line that every single person remembers. Now this was played by Forrest Gump, played by Tom Hanks, and the character famously says, life is like a box of chocolates. However, the actual line, life was like a box of chocolates. A small tweak, but why does everyone say life is like a box of chocolates? You never know what you're going to get. How is that fair? So everything that we know and understand and comprehend, all synonyms there, why is this changing? And this is what is called the Mandela Effect. Everything that you know and understand and appreciate is all changing. Now this brings us back to another theory. Now, the whole aspect of the Mandela Effect, there's a couple of theories out there, but one of them I thought was interesting. Now, again, these are just theories. Doesn't mean that they're true. It's just kind of cool to look back. So in 2012, excuse me, everyone was told that the world's going to end. There was even a movie about it. I don't know if you guys saw that. Kind of a wild movie. But as they kind of go, maybe the world did end. And now we're sitting here in 2023, and that timeline was ending, but we bled into a different timeline. So things like Fruit of the Loom, Looney Tunes, Mirror Mirror, Sex and the City, Star Wars, for crying out loud, all bled through. So we're all here in real time, but that's not an actual thing. We just bled through in a different timeline. And there was this great quote. I don't know who said it, so I'm sure you guys in the comments can help me out here. It was, we are not human beings having a spiritual existence. We're spiritual beings having a human existence, or a human experience. And I thought this was interesting because if this 2012 thing, this theory, is true, and we're just spiritual beings, because they always say when you die, your spirit lives on, but your body, your vessel, is no longer, right? So what if, at that point, all the world that we knew about doesn't exist anymore? But our spirits, our lives, our souls had to go somewhere. And now we're bleeding into a different multiverse. You always see it in, like, in The Flash, in, kind of in any superhero movie, the multiverse, whatever it is. Maybe we did bleed into a different segment of that. It is interesting to think about, because as we all sit here today, nothing really changed. Everyone was like, this clock, this count, the Mayan calendar is shutting down. 2012 is it. There's going to be floods, there's going to be earthquakes, there's going to be planes falling out of the sky, people are going to die left and right. But nothing happened. Maybe something did happen. There's also just a transition of, well, what if we slowly were rippling everything? So people were saying, as we're kind of going through the timeline, you have like atom bombs, you have like the whole Nazi regime, all this kind of crazy history, and those were rippling timelines. Apparently there was there's talk, and we could do a podcast on this later, about how the Nazis were trying to create a time machine. Maybe these guys are playing with the timeline, and they're rippling it. And it only happens for so long, and then eventually, as we're getting older, things are getting mended, we're bleeding into different timelines. One of the interesting things about the Mandela Effect is millions and even billions of people believed one thing and they got another. Why is that a thing? You're telling me if I sit here and I have 6 people, and you go, the cornucopia never existed on the Fruit of the Loom. People will be like, okay, but 6 people, all 6 people sitting here go, nope, I've seen that. I have looked into the eyes of that cornucopia, and I know that is a thing. What do? You can't really do much, because you can't change it. But why does everyone believe that mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all? Every single person believes that's a thing, but not a person can prove that it's not. So that's like saying, when you go home, going to go see that blue door, you're all excited. You're like, oh my gosh, I haven't been back to New Jersey in forever, right? You're going to go visit your family for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And the door is red. Mom, Dad, what happened to the blue door? Why'd you paint it? It was such a good memory. And they go, no, son, the door was always red. They show you pictures. They show you your first day getting on the bus into kindergarten. And there it is, the red door. So some people do believe that it's just the misrepresentation, the whisper down the lane. I'm sure you guys have played when you were younger. Group of like 10 kids or so. First person, like, say, like, the line is, the sky is blue today. And the next person goes, the sky is blue today. And the next person goes, the sky is off today. And then as you get down to the end of the line, you'll have a line like, the grass is greener on the other side. Doesn't make sense, but as it gets down to each person, one person could have messed it up, which is probably what happened. One person could have been malicious about it and changed the entire thing. I know I've done that from personal experience. But what is it to someone else that this is all wrong? So I asked you guys this question. Go home. Well, I'm sure you're home. You're listening to a podcast. Go on your phones, check this out, and find a Mandela Effect that I didn't talk about today and put it in the comment section. Email it to me. Because I look for so many of these. And there's so many I didn't even touch on today. Put them in the comments section. Send me an email. DM me. Let me know what you guys think, because there's so many Mandela effects out there. It makes you think, well, if there's so many of these and people can cite examples, why are we having this problem? Fruit of the Loom that obviously isn't going to come out and be like, oh, the cornucopia was there, but we took it off because of branding issues, or it costs too much money to put a single cornucopia on a small tag. No one ever heard about it, but they are saying that others suggested that the Mandela Effect is a product of misinterpretation and the facility of just the human memory. So our brains are prone to filling in gaps and constructing narratives, sometimes leading to inaccuracies, and additionally, the power of suggestion and the influence of pop culture contribute to the spread of false memories. So, could this be true? Absolutely. Everything I could be talking about is BS. My point being is, everything you see online, they always say, like, say you see a statistic, wow, I can't speak, a statistic where 1 in 3 people only drink water. Where are they getting that information from? Oh, some Harvard, no, they didn't get it from a study. You read it on TikTok, you read it on Instagram, and now you're regurgitating it to your friends. Why? Pop culture, misinformation, and it happens all the time. The power of suggestion. Cops do it as well. It's like they have this murderer here, and they're trying to figure out, get a confession. Nail this guy to the floor. Oh, well, listen, you might have been drunk last night. Maybe you were just so tired and you were so frustrated from your job that you came home and maybe you did grab that knife. Now they're putting that suggestion into their brains, right? And they're just adding to all this gaps in this person's memory who may have just went red and just went rampant. Does make it okay, but they're adding to the transition of their memories. Now they're getting what they want. They want a confession. They're filling in the gaps. And people do that too. Like when you black out, I'm sure plenty of people on it, including myself, have had wild nights where sometimes like your brain is just teetering off and you don't really know what's happening. And the next day, like, you have to watch the videos, you have to do this or that, and you're filling in the gaps. But let's say you were talking to this really cute girl, right? You're filling in the gaps. Oh, you think it went so well. You remember talking to her. Oh, man, she touched your shoulder. And then you leave, right? You're with all your friends. Like, oh, my gosh, that girl was so into me, like, yesterday. Like, I remember she was touching my arm and everything. They go, no, bro, you were being weird and a creepo. And she was telling you to get the fuck away from her. Your brain wants to fill in gaps, and misinformation can do that. And the amount of people that go, there was cornucopias, maybe that's a thing. And people always love to be a part of like a group. There's a great study that was done. It was an office building for the doctors. Every single person in that room was an actor except one person. Person walks in, totally unannounced. Everyone in there is actors, and there's a beep. When the beep happens, everyone stands up. But the guy who's just a regular dude goes, why is everyone standing up? On the second beep, everyone does it again. And then after the third or fourth beep, the guy eventually does it too. Then one of the actors get called into the doctors, quote unquote. It keeps happening. He does it. When someone gets pulled in, someone brand new that is not an actor also walks in. The buzzer is still happening. People are still standing up. Now, after 3 or 4, the next person is doing it. And then they so far throughout the video trickle the actors out of the office till it's all brand new people that are doing this, that are trained at this beep. You stand up. That's just what you do. So, could misinformation and could people wanted to be a part of something? Could this have just filling gaps in their brain? Maybe it was always this way, but you hear it a million times. It's like people believe their own lies. You continue to tell yourself, or people do it all the time. Fake it till you make it, right? You're driving, you're working on something. Oh, I'm not tired. I'm not tired. I'm not tired. You speak it into existence, and your body goes, you're right, Billy Bob Joe. I'm not tired. Now, you're not. It works for some, doesn't work for others. The only issue is now you have tricked yourself into being awake. Most people could have tricked themselves. They hear it all the time. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. You hear it so many times. That's the line to you, right? Let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever written a word down and messed up and it doesn't look right? That's another thing of misinformation and inaccuracies. You look at it, you go, the word that is spelled T-H-A-T. But you keep looking at it, and it doesn't look right. It's right, but it doesn't look right. That's just your brain filling in those things. So, again, all these theories are relative. Take them with a grain of salt. And as you kind of go along with this, look up your own ones. Maybe you might find something that you remember that isn't no longer there, that is no longer there anymore. Because as this goes, and as we kind of navigate this floating orb in the middle of space with some green and people on it, just remember, do the best you can, and do your due diligence to see everything you can. Because things like this are fascinating. I'm not saying it's a true thing. I'm not saying it's a real thing. But it's interesting to think that millions and billions of people believe there's a cornucopia inside of your underwear holding fruit. Then they hear about this and there's no longer a cornucopia. Think about it. And even the big one. Star Wars. Luke, I am your father. Brother, that never happened. He goes, no, I am your father. That blows my mind. Every Star Wars fan that I've told that to won't believe me. They go and they look it up. I'm right. Now, does it feel good to be here that I'm right? Absolutely. But does it also make your mind boggle a little bit? Definitely, without a doubt in my mind. So, as we wrap this up here, I want you guys to understand Mandela effects are everywhere. There's plenty. There's hundreds when I went looking. This 6 or 7 that I have here were just examples of what I thought was wild. One of the viral ones that I've seen, and I'll put that video up for the guy that had that lock box or the vault of the Mandela Effect. But it is interesting because as we go along with everything, maybe things aren't as they seem. But just so you guys know, episodes come out every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have great interviews coming up. I have at least 4 or 5 that are going to be absolutely riveting. You guys can learn so much information. So if you guys have anyone that might want to be interviewed or want to be on this podcast, send them to me. I'd love to vet them and see what's going on. And if you guys have ideas for conspiracy theories, send them my way. You can send me an email. That's all up on Spotify and everything else on my socials and everything like that. Guys, just keep in touch and keep liking the videos. See you guys soon.